Hi there, it's Deneen, and I'm finally here. I'm so sorry. My Lenovo decided that it was going to not have a camera access. I had it a half an hour ago, and now I don't. So I don't know what's going on. I'm going to have to update my computer so that my camera has access again. You know, I wish it would give me like a heads up. That would be so amazing. So I know that, I know that I just put my hand in front of the video. So I guess I'm going to have to do some editing today to put this on YouTube. And I apologize if you're waiting for me on YouTube. My computer 5 minutes before decides that it needs a whole overhaul, which will take me longer than 5 minutes. So I am calm, and I realize that probably no one will be here today. And I'm just going to go ahead and do my thing and see what happens. Now my computer wants to update. Hi, Brenda. I am over here today because my camera is not working on my computer, so I'm going to be coming here. But today we're going to be talking about 5 practices that really motivate you in your God-centered business. So that's what's really cool about this, is that we're going to start with the Bible, because I realized that if I'm going to talk about your faith fueling your business, that I better start with faith and what's going on and what's happening there too, right? So let me bring you a little bit closer. As you see, I'm in a different location today. I'm at my mom's house, and so that's the background we have today. That is at her house as well. So today I'm going to talk about Ruth and how she is our example of this practice of consistency and really of excellence. So we know Ruth, right? Because Ruth is from the Bible. She has her own book, which I really think is great. And what I love about her is that her example of her devotion to Naomi, her mother-in-law, is our example of our devotion to what God's called us to do. And so we're going to go through these 5 consistency practices for your business. So I hope you're with me, and we'll continue on. So I'm going to start with her story, and then I'm going to relate it to those 5 things that we're going to talk about. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had a job where you were just going through the motions? You were just trying to make it through the day to get that paycheck? God calls us to do so much more. He calls us to pursue excellence and to really be consistent and excellent in any of our circumstances. And part of that excellency is the consistency. I think they kind of go hand in hand. If you agree, would love to see some thumbs up there. As we enter into the middle of kind of Ruth's story, we see her doing just that. She's pursuing excellence, and she's being consistent as she works in the fields. She is, like I said, our example of showing even a good attitude as we try to do our best. Ruth is a devoted daughter-in-law to Naomi, and when Naomi's husband and her 2 sons die, she realizes that she must return to Bethlehem for protection, because the Jewish nation protected their widows. And Ruth, who is a Moabite, which means they're descendants of Lot, she is a beautiful foreigner, and she begs Naomi to return with her because she's so devoted to not only Naomi, but also to the God that Naomi serves. So they arrive in Bethlehem right at the beginning of what's called the spring harvest. And Ruth begins to go out into the fields and glean the leftover grain. Now, this was part of the Jewish give back, is that they would leave the corners of the fields unharvested so that those who were foreigners, widows, and orphans could get food. And I think that Ruth is like all the categories above, right? She's working to help take care of Naomi and herself. The work, it may not be what she wanted. It may actually be beneath her pay grade. Maybe you've been there, but it is what is in front of her, and it's what she needed to do to save keep alive her and Naomi so that they could survive. The work is hard and it's long, and we don't see Ruth in the story ever complaining or grumbling. In fact, she's working very hard every single day, picking up the leftovers from the fields. And, I'm sure she's not the only person in the fields that's gleaning. This situation was probably fraught with lots of danger from other gleaners, from the hired hands that were actually harvesting the grain as well. And I would imagine being a woman in this type of environment had to be a little tricky and maybe have been difficult. So if you know anything about the story of Ruth, she ends up in the field of Boaz, and that's actually a relative of Naomi. And so I love how we see that God orchestrated everything for Ruth so that she would be safe and she wouldn't suffer. Boaz actually recognizes and sees her. Well, he notices her, one, because she's beautiful, and that she's working in the fields. And so he asks the foreman, and the foreman says, oh yes, that's Naomi's daughter-in-law, and she has a strong work ethic. She's been here every single day. And that really impresses Boaz. So I like to say that he's an encouraging boss. He tells her to only glean from his fields, to come every day just to his field, and to make sure she goes behind the women so that she's a little safer, because she's all by herself. He tells her to get all the water she needs, and he even tells the foreman to give her extra food at lunch, and tells the harvesters to drop extra grain for her. So she's a lot of favor with Boaz because she stands apart when she is working so hard. She's going beyond what's expected. And I think that we stand apart as Christians when we go beyond what people expect of us, and we do excellent, and we do it consistently. So Ruth stays in the harvest during the whole harvest time, about 7 weeks in his field. First there's the barley, and then there's the wheat. And so she does all this work. And all this time, she is only concerned with how she's going to help Naomi and herself basically eat, right? Ruth is so smart, and she's so intelligent, and she's strong, and she's loyal. All the things we want in ourselves as a worker and in other employees and business partners, right? And so I think she's probably making a plan for, what do I do after this 7 weeks, right? What do I do after this is over? And she's trying to think of the next thing to do after the harvest. And I also know that Naomi's thinking about this too. And now I don't know if they had the same kind of idea, but Naomi kind of got inspired by watching Ruth do all the things that she was doing. So her courageous, persevering, shrewd self was reawakened. And she thought, we're going to be saved because Ruth's going to help me with Boaz. Now, there's a whole lot more to this story, and that I haven't included it here. But I have it all in my book, Clarify, 12 Principles to Illuminate Your Calling to the Marketplace. So I have that all together, and Ruth does find favor with Boaz, and he identifies her as a woman worthy of his attention. It may seem like Ruth was a person that was unimportant, that was just looking to survive. But God really had other plans. Boaz accepts Ruth by redeeming her in marriage, which is the way they redeemed women then, and redeemed her through children. In fact, she is the mother of Obed, and Obed is the grandfather of King David. Ooh, look at that. She's in the lineage of Jesus. I want you to remember that you can never overlook the importance of your work by the size of your bank account, the popularity you have in the market, or even by your position in the company that you are working. God's always looking at your heart, your devotion to him, and he's always shaping your character to be more like him. So now that we got the background of the story of Ruth as our example, I want to look at those 5 things that we're going to look deeper into what consistency really means and these consistency practices. And really, it all starts in your mind, with your mindset. First of all, consistency is not about obtaining quick results. It's about making those incremental progress and improvements over time. Ruth was in that harvest for 7 weeks, at least, before she saw any of the fruits of her labor as far as what to do next. So I want to ask you, how long have you been working to create a following, write your content, develop your products? First, are you being patient while you're staying consistent? So that was the first one. The second one is consistency requires commitment on your part. You must commit to a sustained effort of action over time. Again, we look at Ruth here as an example of this. Commitment for her was commitment to God, devotion to Naomi, right? And that's the same for us. So my question is, are you committed to continuing if you know that God is calling you into business? Will you not give up? The third thing about consistency that we have to really wrap our head around is consistency is about building small empowerment habits. Small empowerment habits and rituals that help you perform every day, that keep you focused on your highest priorities and goals. Ruth's goal was to keep herself and Naomi alive, and she had no other choice. You have choices. Do you have people in your life that hold you accountable for your daily choices, the ones that you need to make for your business each day? Remember, the part about excellence that includes doing things without excuses or complaining either. Number 4, consistency is not about repeating the same actions for the sake of getting things done, because we all know that that's insanity, right? It's about progress. Consistency is about progress. So that means we have to continue learning, continue growing, continue adapting all of your actions so that it leads to these incremental improvements that we talked about. Ruth began to understand what the next step would be after the harvest to get her to the next level. So what are you investing in so that you are continually growing in your faith, knowing more about God, and growing in your business by acquiring new skills? The fifth one is that consistency means understanding that the greatest power lies in this present moment, what's happening right now, what you decide right now. It means staying diligent, staying on top of the task that you're doing without losing your focus. Ruth had to be disciplined and to show up every day to work, basically so she could eat, right? How are you disciplining yourself to show up in your business each moment with excellence? You know, God is giving you the power each day to get up and go do. We do not depend on our own ability to make it happen. We depend on God that we serve, the God that we serve, to make it all work out for our benefit. Your job is to work consistently, pursuing excellence, and know that the work that you're doing right now is where you need to be, because it's preparing you to move to the next thing, the next level, the next step that God is asking you to take. So when we talk about these 5 consistency items, and I'm just going to review them real quick. We talk about incremental progress, right? Commitment, empowering habits, progress by learning, growing, right? And the present moment. What questions did I raise for you that you really need to start to think about so that you can be more consistent? Consistency for me, it means that I'm doing what I say I'm going to do. I'm creating a plan for my business that I follow every single day. And I use tools like goal setting, action steps, time blocking to keep me on track. Now, I know that there's going to be days for you when your best laid plans are going to go crazy. But make sure that you have the plan to begin with so that it's easy to get back on track and do it quickly. If this has struck a chord with you, if you're thinking, I need to be more consistent in my business, and I need to be more consistent in my life, then you and I need to connect. I would love to have a clarity conversation with you about the 5 P's to significance and satisfaction. It's a mastermind coaching program that I have. I will put the description, I will give you the links for that to schedule that conversation with me. Now, I know many people struggle with consistency when they fail to see immediate results. We need to just do the work consistently and leave the results to God. Our job is to really just to get clarity around your highest priority activities each day. These always have to do with your core values, your passion, your purpose, and your goals. And in the 5 P's, that's what we're designed to help you do. Get clarity around those things so that you can be persistent. Again, I apologize today that I'm not on YouTube yet, that I'm not live with you. Please, please, please comment below if you have anything to say. I would love for you to comment, and I will catch up with those later. And I just want to thank you so much for being here. And as always, be filled to overflowing.